Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked for this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right, we have an Atelier Lusa Carina in the Diamond Nebula. We have a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in the Sand. We have a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Warden. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight, a Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight. We have a Sailor King of Pens Sakura Nagare. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, a Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina, and we have a Visconti Il Magnifico, and this is in the black marble. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail here. So this is the Atelier Lusa Carina in the Diamond Nebula. It has a hammered style clip here, which I do like a lot. The material though is made from Mackenzie Penworks, and this is the diamond cast material. And this has some really lovely blues and reds and almost purples going on here in that material. It really is a stunning material, and you can probably see that silver dust there, or say diamond dust. It's real diamond dust, not silver dust. But it really is a beautiful material. The nib in here, I've got a steel Yovo nib here, and it's a broad nib, but it's a nib I like. The pen is a cartridge converter. You can post the cap as well. But you do, when you post the Atelier Lusa Carinas, they are very, very long. So unless you really want to be sort of looking as though that you're a little bit deranged posting a pen cap that long, you probably don't want to post that cap. But you can do. It's a cartridge converter pen. I do like how this writes. The broad nibs from Yovo are very smooth nibs for me, I find. Very little pencil feedback to them, unlike the medium nibs that typically can have that. The next pen I have inked up this week is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero, and it's a Grande in the sand material. Now this is a striated sort of spaghetti-like material. It's a resin material, but it's layered and then sliced this way to create that layering effect. It's a beautiful material, and I do like it a lot. And so glad that I was able to pick this up at the London Pen Show when I did, a good few years ago. The earlier Grandes came with a steel nib, and this is a steel Bock nib. Now, obviously, a lot of the Grandes nowadays are coming with 14 or 18 karat gold nibs, and they've actually switched from Bock to Yovo. So that is a little bit of a change. Now, the filling system, it's not a cartridge converter. They call it a piston, but it's a captured converter. It's a much girthier converter that is glued into the section. So it gives you basically the same amount of capacity that you would get easily from a piston filling pen, but technically it's a converter. However, it's not a cartridge converter because you cannot remove it and put a cartridge in place. So it's a different filling system basically, but I like it. I don't have any issues with that whatsoever. It's a beautiful pen. Now I got that in a medium nib, and I like how that nib writes. A very, very nice writing nib. The next pen here is a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Warden, and yes, it is a Warden. These are gold Warden strips there that you can see. Sort of abalone sort of shells that are pieced together. Very, very nice material. I do like this pen a lot. I got this in a broad nib. It's a 18 karat gold nib there, number 6 size nib. But I got it in a broad nib because this was, at the time, my first Pelikan M800 nib. and I knew that they were rigid, not like the M1000s that are very bouncy. So I wasn't sure if I wanted a medium nib or not. So I got this in a broad nib, and I do like it. I have this pen inked up with me this week as well. You can post the cap if you want to, but it's a Lardon finish. It's got lacquer over it, but I just don't post my caps. So for me, it's not a pen that I would post a lot. The next pen here is the Pelikan M1000, and this is a Raden Starlight. So you can see all of that gold dust there sprinkled around the Warden strips of abalone shell. It really is a beautiful pen, and you can see this here on the body. It's a stunning work of art, and it really is a work of art. So this is obviously the Pelikan logo there. You got the Pelikan clip that you would normally see on a Pelikan. If I unscrew this, it's got the M1000 nibs because it is an M1000. These special editions only come in a medium nib, but you can swap them out if you want to. But I got a medium nib still in here. Again, I can post the cap. It will post quite deeply and securely. But again, it's Lardon with lacquer over it, so and Maquet as well. So it's not a pen that I would sort of post on a regular basis. But you can see here the feed. It's an ABS plastic feed. It's not an ebonite feed, but it's quite a chunky feed there on that nib. But it's a number 8 size nib, and I do like those Pelikan M1000 nibs as well. The next pen again is another Pelikan M1000, and this is the Raden Sunlight. And so this is very similar. You've got those Raden stripes going on there. They're a little bit narrower compared to the Starlight, but and you don't have the gold dust either. But again, I think this is quite a stunning pen. You can just see that there, the beauty of that pen. So again, it's a Pelikan logo, Pelikan bill clip, and I can hold it in my hand. It's an M1000, so they are typically larger. You can post the cap as well, and it will post deeply and securely. But again, I just don't do it because of the Varden with the lacquer over the top. It's got an M1000 nib there, and again, another medium with an ABS plastic feed. But I like these pens, so I have that one inked up with me this week as well. They're not cheap pens. If you look up the price of a Pelikan M1000 Warden, they are not cheap. But I have to write with my pens, so I always ink my pens up to write with them. So whether or not it's a cheap pen or an expensive pen, I'm going to write with it. And there are very few pens in my collection that I do not write with. I want to say there's only 2 pens in my collection. The next pen I have inked up is the Sailor King pen, Sakura Nagare. I had this inked up, I think, last week as well. Beautiful pen. It's a Maquet, it's a Varden. So you have the abalone shell here. Now it's a Sakura Nagare. These are Sakura petals, or to depict Sakura petals, the Varden, and it's flowing down a river. And this is a beautiful, beautiful pen, beautiful material. These come in, so this is a Sailor King pen with a number 8 size King pen nib. That one I got a broad nib on it. These specific models are about twice the price of a regular Sailor King pen. So if you're thinking about picking one of these up, and they are special orders, so unless a retailer actually has one in stock, you have to actually order it, and it can take 6 to 12 months to arrive. Like all Sailors, it's a cartridge converter pen, and I can, if I wanted to, post that cap, and it will post very deeply. But again, I just don't. It's not a pen I feel that I need to post, and there are very few pens I need to post. So this one I have inked up with me this week as well, and you'll see that the pattern here between the cap and the body all line up. So that's a very nice touch as well. The next pen here is a Taccia, and it's the Miyabi, and it's the Winter's Breath. So this is, again, another Varden. It's another Maquet. and it's got crushed quail's eggs on this pen. And you can just see that there with the Raden stripes. It is a very, very nice pen, but it is made by Taccia. And if I unscrew the cap, you'll see a number 6 size nib, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. Now, although it's branded Taccia, it is made by Sailor. And Taccia have also more recently made another Miyabi, exactly the same model of this, with a slightly wider section and a larger number 8 size nib, which I think would fit this pen beautifully. But it does need a wider section though, and I would presume probably also a modification to the cap as well, because otherwise the cap's not going to fit on. Like the Sailor King pen, it's a cartridge converter pen. And again, I can post the cap. It won't post as deeply as the Sailor King pen. But again, I don't post it normally because I don't want to scratch or mar the finish there. It does have a spring-loaded clip as well. So you have to push it in and twist at the same time. Which is a little bit disconcerting because a lot of pens don't have that kind of spring-loaded capping mechanism. So it takes a little while to get used to that, but once you're used to it, it's not a problem. The next pen here I have inked up, and you can probably see it's almost out of ink because I've been writing with it a lot. It's the Visconti Homo Sapiens, and it's the London Fog. And this was my first Visconti pen, which took me well over 70 Viscontis in the end to buy after this one, because I liked how they wrote. I liked the 23 karat palladium nib, and I know a lot of people have a love-hate relationship with that nib, and for the most part, I'd say most of my nibs have been quite nice, and I've not had any major issues. Some are more rigid, some are more bouncy. Yes, you're going to get that. But this has a hook-safe lock mechanism, so it's a quarter of a turn. It has a fine nib on there, and it's a 23 karat palladium nib. It's got a double reservoir, and it's a power vac filling mechanism. So it holds around 2.5 milliliters of ink, which is a lot of ink. And I've clearly sort of used most of this ink up here because it's just a few little drops that are in that barrel there of the pen. So I have to now decide whether or not I'm going to flush that out and clean it and then put it back in my pen drawer, or whether or not I will just re-ink it back up again. And I love how that fine nib writes, and I'm very tempted to ink it straight back up and continue writing with it. But I don't know. I've got a lot of other pens that I want to ink up as well, so maybe I'll put it back in. I'll clean it out and put it back into storage, perhaps. The next pen here is the Visconti. It's another Visconti, a different bridge clip though. So this is the Visconti, and it's I'll show you here, it's the Leonardo da Vinci Machina. And this is a beautiful pen. I like this a lot. And it's a great pen. So the Leonardo da Vinci Machina, it's a scrimshaw pen, and you can see that here, beautiful work of art. And then they colour that in and with some sort of paint or dust, and then they lacquer over the top of it. Beautiful pen. Again, it's not a cheap pen, but this is a beautiful pen. It has a hook safe lock mechanism, so a quarter of a turn. You've also got this lovely aqua silk material that they also had on the Medici as well pen. And then it has an 18 karat gold. It's a new style 18 karat gold nib. It's a fine nib. But I like this pen. It's not a double reservoir. It's a single reservoir. But it is a power vac. I can post the cap, but again, it feels a bit more back weighted because of this clip. It's quite heavy. And I just don't post my caps. So, or post my pen. So for me, it's a beautiful pen. And I love having this inked up with a brown ink, so that is inked up this week as well. And then the final pen here is another Visconti, and this is the Medici Il Magnifico, and this is in the black marble, and it's got some beautiful gold veins there going around that pen, and This pen is made of solid marble and solid silver. Uh, it's a heavy pen. It's not a light pen. But I like this, and I have a red one and I have a lapis blue. And I'm seriously thinking about picking up the green one still, because I like these. I don't have to complete a set of pens if they're different colours or different materials. But I do like the green, and I do like how these feel in my hand and how they write. So I may pick that up at some point. So this has one of the newer style 18 karat gold nibs, and that's a medium nib, but it is very, very nice. It's got that aged look to the brass there. It's a silver, but it's a really, really nice pen to hold. I can post a cap, but again, it's way back weighted. It's not something I would do. And when I post it, although it's plastic inside, I kind of feel it scraping over the imprint here. So again, it's not something that I would want to do. So I have that pen inked up with me this week as well. So I think with that, let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen I have inked up here is the Atelier Lusa Carina in the Diamond Nebula. So I think let's do an ink swatch here. And this is a broad nib, and I find that this nib writes really, really well. It's quite a wet nib as well. So this is an Atelier Luso Carina in the Diamond Nebula. And it's a broad, and it's a Yovo steel nib. And then the ink in here today is Monteverde and it's Blueberry Muffin, which is a lovely colour ink. I wouldn't say it's blue though, but it is a lovely colour ink. The next pen is a Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in the sand. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this is an ink that I really would like to get more of, and I'm going to have to see if I can, because it's a purple ink that has a gold sheen to it, and I like purple inks with a gold sheen. So this is, I'm going to abbreviate it just to Leonardo, because it's a Momento Zero, and it's a Grande, and it's in the sand material. And it's a medium, and this is a steel nib in this one. And then the ink in here is actually Leonardo Purple. And I don't know if this is an ink that Diamine makes, or if it's an ink that another pen manufacturer, maybe in Italy or in Europe, makes. But it is a nice colour ink, and I have to say it's an ink that I like a lot, and I've gone through about half a bottle now. The next pen is a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Warden. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I've got a gold coloured ink. Maybe a little bit more of a greeny gold colour ink. So this is the Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Varden. And this is a broad, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it's Inner Ho, which is a very, very lovely sort of goldish colour ink. So if you're looking for gold ink that doesn't have shimmer particles in it, then go for that ink, because that is a lovely colour ink. The next pen is a Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And this is quite a light ink, and you can see here how light it is. It's a honey color ink. So this is the Pelikan M1000 Raden Starlight. It's quite an autumny colour ink, really. Now, this is a medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is diamine, and it's honey burst, which for me is becoming a very nice autumny colour ink. I like KWZ honey as well. This is more of a, I guess, an autumny brown rather than maybe a honey. Well, I guess it depends. You can get honey in different colours. So if you looked at varying colours in a honey pot or honey jar, it's still honey. It's just, I would say it's different to the KWZ honey that I have, which I would probably associate more as a honey colour. The next pen here, again, is another Pelikan M1000, but this is the Raden Sunlight. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is another ink that I got recently in the last few months, and I've been writing with a lot. Same with the Diamine Honeyburst. So this is a Pelikan M1000 Warden Sunlight, and it's again another medium 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is again, it's another diamine ink, and it's cherry, and I think it's sunburst. But it's another ink. So these two inks are actually part of the Gibson guitar series of inks from Diamine. The next pen is a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagare. So we'll do an ink swatch. And I really do like this ink a lot. I think I had this pen inked up last week as well. It's very, very nice colour ink. A summery colour ink, really, I guess. So this is a Sailor, and it's the King of Pen Sakura Nagare. And I know I'm mispronouncing that, but I probably should learn these names. And I know some of you have asked me to learn these names, but there are so many different names, and I'm not somebody that speaks Japanese or in other terms of French or German or Italian, so I don't probably pronounce the names of the pens as much as, or even inks probably as much as I should. So this is a broad, and it's a 21 cat gold nib, and then the ink in here is KWZ, and it's grapefruit, which is a very lovely colour ink. The next pen, I also had this inked up last week, is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch here. And I do find that this nib writes a little bit dry. Typically Sailor nibs do, and although it's a Taccia pen and it's got Taccia branding nib, it is made by Sailor. So this is the Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath, and it's a broad, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. Now this does have, like a lot of Sailors, it does have a lot of pencil feedback to it. The Sailor King of Pen, because this is a broad nib, it doesn't have a lot of feedback, but typically medium nibs do. This is a broad nib, but still this has a lot of feedback. So the ink in here is Pelikan Edelstein and it is Topaz, which is a lovely sort of turquoisey cerulean blue ink. The last pen, which I will need to flush out this week, because I didn't write with it a lot this week, and I probably should have flushed it out. So we'll do an ink swatch, but this is a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So we've got the ink swatch here. And I think I will just flush this out after this inking, because I really do need to. So it's the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. And it's a fine, and it's a 20, not 21, 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku, and it's Konpeki. And you can see the difference there really between two blue inks, the Pelican Eagle Sign Topaz, which is more... Pilot actually say that the Konpeki is more of a cerulean blue. I would say that this is. It's a little bit more, I guess, maybe on the turquoisey side, but both are very nice inks. But I'm starting to like the lighter blue inks, the more turquoisey colour inks now. The next pen is, again, a Visconti, and it's the Leonardo da Vinci Machina. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this writes quite wet for what is essentially a fine nib. So it's the Visconti, and it's the Leonardo, and it's Da Vinci Machina, or just Visconti Machina for short. This has a medium, and it's the newer 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Akamon, and it's SBRE brown. But what I would say, though, is that if you look at the line width between these two pens, between the fine and the medium, it's almost identical. I would say that this pen actually writes like a fine to me. And the last pen is, again, another Visconti, but it's the Medici Il Magnifico. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see there, it's a grey ink. I find that this is, the grey inks typically are drier inks, but I do find that this nib also is a little bit dry. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Medici Il Magnifico. But it is a medium 18 karat new gold nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Earl Grey, which is a lovely grey ink. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Atelier Lusso Carina in a Diamond Nebula in a broad steel nib inked up with Monteverde Blueberry Muffin. We have a Leonardo, and this is the Officina Italiana Momento Zero Grande in the sand in a medium steel nib inked up with Leonardo Purple. We have a Pelikan M800 Royal Gold Warden in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku in a hoe. We have a Pelikan M1000 Warden Starlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Honeyburst. We have a Pelikan M1000 Raden Sunlight in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Cherry Sunburst. We have a Sailor King of Pens Sakura Nagare in a broad 21 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Grapefruit. We have a Taccia Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Eagle Sign Topaz. We have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a fine 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pilot Roshizuku Konpeki. We have a Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina in a medium 18-karat gold nib inked up with Ackerman SBRE Brown. And then we have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in a medium 18-karat gold nib inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. So there you have it, that's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching, please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.